Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. I am your host, Candy Barone, and I am truly delighted and honored to have you joining us in the ring once again as we talk about how you show up as a leader in today's environment. As you know, leadership is truly a function of how you choose to show up, how you choose to serve others, and how you choose to take that personal responsibility inside that space. And today we're going to have a really juicy meeting conversation with my guest, who, let me just say hello to Dr. Diana Kirschner. Thank you for joining us.
In the ring.
In the ring. We're going to go knock. We're going to take a few punches. We're going to completely bring you a power pack punch, and we're going to take things in maybe a little bit different direction today, which is going to be fun. And as you know, we do not do surface conversations on this show. This is a space that we're going to have those rich, meaty, juicy, we're going to talk about some of the things that sometimes we don't get into, right? And so with that, let me tell you about my amazing, fabulous, awesome guest who is here with us today. As I said, my guest is Dr. Diana Kirschner. She is a psychologist who has appeared regularly on the Today Show and has starred in a PBS special on finding love based on her international bestseller, Love in 90 Days, which she's going to talk about as we are in the 10th anniversary and there's a whole new relaunch. And so super excited to talk about how that work applies to us showing up as leaders. It is the book that Hoda Cope of the Today Show, which is now in a great relationship, used and praised as a great dating guide. Oh, we could all use some of that help. Love in 90 Days has helped tens of thousands around the world to create high value self-confidence and lasting soulmate love. And so as I can go on and talk more and more about her background, I'd rather you hear from Dr. Diana directly. So once again, Dr. Diana, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Candy. Thank you. I'm very, very excited. I love the topic of leadership. I really, really love the topic of leadership. It's such a dynamic topic, and it just really branches out to every aspect of your life.
It does. And today we're going to really talk about connecting that space around love into leadership. Before we do that, though, just to give our listeners a little bit more around, who you are and how you arrived here, talk about what sort of propelled you into this missions work. You really have a mission and movement around creating this message and spreading this message of love around the world. So talk about how you've arrived here and what that really means.
Well, of course, it's like most people. I didn't have love. So I was born into a family that only wanted boys, right? And so I was the fifth girl. And when I was born, my father said, "Oh my God, another girl. I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to see her." So I never heard "I love you" or anything like that. I mean, except once when he was drinking. But, and so I grew up really in the opposite kind of way of being present or being able to be any kind of real person, much less any leader. And you had a really, really difficult time of it. So I studied everything I could about how to create actually self-love and how to, be someone who I could feel good about myself, because I felt so badly about myself, so terribly. I used to actually cry. I would be walking on the sidewalk in front of my parents' house, and I would cry because they had me, like, oh my God, that's horrible. So, I went on this search for how to create self-love, self-confidence, that path, and then also how to create love with a partner. Absolutely. And I wound up getting a master's degree and a PhD in clinical psychology, and actually discovered how it worked, which is a miracle from the divine, but discovered how it worked with the help of a mentor, an amazing mentor.
Yeah. And having those mentors is really important. And what I love about your story, and first, thank you for the vulnerability and sharing, where that comes from. I think there's so much power in just that space when we start talking about self-love and self-confidence and that connection back to vulnerability. And what I love about what you're saying, not only are you standing in that, but how similar or the thread that sort of is the similarity between our stories, right? And it's amazing because a lot of people ask, they want to know that compelling why, or what's that reason you're driving this mission forward. And I tell people it all stems from the relationship I didn't have with my father. And again,
Wow.
I was the firstborn, and he wanted a son, and he was right. And he was an, Italian man, very narcissistic, very abusive, very, very different things. And the way he showed up for me and the way he showed up for my sister, who was the youngest, was 180 degrees worlds apart. Now, we had our own trauma and things to deal with as we dealt with things with my dad later on. I mean, he literally abandoned my sister. I never had his attention or his love. And so one of the reasons I create this space around leadership is when I look at the relationships between fathers and daughters in particular, and what that does for women, but also what it does for the men. I looked at the only way I can solve that problem is go to the root cause. And I think about what we teach in business that isn't from a place of self-love. And so one of the things that really resonates with me deeply, aside from the similarities of our stories, is when you talk about self-love and self-confidence. And one of the things we like to do on this show is get into what does that really mean? Because I think we get really comfortable thinking we know what someone means when they use a certain phrase or use a certain term. And we'll say, oh yeah, self-love, self-confidence, I get it, sure. And there's that big and that says, what does it really mean when you're in a place of self-love, and how and where does self-confidence play in that? How do those two things connect?
Wow. I'm blown away because my father was also Italian and a narcissist. I'm completely blown away. My sister, my soul sister.
There was a club, I think, at some point, yeah, right? No, crazy.
Anyway, yeah. So what is confidence? To me, confidence is about being at home in the world, truly at home. And what that means is that you are ultra connected. You are super connected. You're connected to the people around you. You're connected to the moment. You're connected actually to the divine, or what, is what people might call a higher power. But when you have that kind of grounding there, to me, that is self-confidence. Growing up, I never felt at home. I didn't feel at home anywhere. I was always anxious and afraid and nervous about what might happen because there was, of course, abuse. There was physical abuse that was very terrifying. And so I never felt at home. And my journey has been to be at home in the world, no matter where I am, whether I'm on the Today Show or I'm doing my own PBS special or I'm just sitting in my backyard, is to feel at home and connected. And it's a miracle to be able to have that, based on the way I really grew up. It's just a miracle. Mm-hmm. But there are proven ways to get it. And that's what I'd like to talk about.
Excellent. And that's exactly what I want to dig into, because when I hear that space of at home, and I like you, really didn't have a sense of who I was myself, that at home space. In fact, all I was trying to do was find another home, get out, do something different. And, I joke that we're all just a duck, right? People think, they see something on the surface and they think, oh, she's got it all together. She's this PhD. She's got this amazing book that's an international bestseller. And yet there are always times, especially when we come from that trauma, where our legs are going a mile a minute under the water. And so many times I think there's such a dichotomy sometimes in one of our biggest yearnings, one of our biggest wants in this world is that we wish somebody would see us for who we are. Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, we have the notion of, oh my God, what if someone sees me for who I am and I'm not lovable, right? It's the dichotomy of us as human beings in my mind. And so I think that as you talk about space of at home, how does someone who's really teetered on that line so much, someone who really is afraid to put themselves out there, is afraid to be loved because they haven't experienced it. And love has many facets, right? And I think people always think love is just only romantic, and there's many different kinds of love. There's agape love that's this really generous, open, giving love. There's multiple loves around that. But what does that mean when you say at home? How does somebody recognize that and allow themselves to drop into that maybe for the first time?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I really am a big proponent of a mentor, someone who can see the best in you, who completely can validate you, appreciates you. You know, I had a mentor, which I mentioned before, was like an amazing parent to me, like a fairy godmother, a work mentor, everything, right? So this mentor, he used to say things to me, and I was, you know, as a young adult at the time, and he would say, you know, you're going to be one of the most incredible leading psychologists in America. And I thought he was insane. I thought he was insane. He would say, you know, you're going to have the most amazing love relationship because you are amazing.
Nice.
Because you are smart. Because you are loving. And so I had this corrective experience of a new parental figure. You know, people think of mentors in business. You know, you go to somebody who has what you want and they teach you and blah, 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 blah. But you can have mentors in terms of your way of being in the world.
Absolutely.
Your way of being in the world. You can have a deep mentor, a mentor who teaches you about self-love and love with other people. Yeah. And I had that. I really had that mentorship. So, you know, to find someone who can truly appreciate your, what I call your diamond self, and this is your best self-identity, who looks at you and doesn't see a loser, doesn't see, you know, I used to be shy growing up. I could not speak. I actually was mute. I would not speak. Because at one point when I was a child, I said something my father didn't like, and he basically almost killed me, really. So I stopped talking. But I had a new experience of a father figure who said, talk. It's okay to talk. You know, it's okay to talk. I can't overestimate, or I can't say, it's like, it's so powerful. This kind of thing, the thing that's fascinating is we are wired to be reparented. This is key to understand. We are wired to be reparented.
Now that's interesting.
Yes.
And that idea of a mentor, I agree with that. I think you can have a mentor and coaches in all aspects of your life. I really believe that a one size fits all, and it's not, people do look at it just strictly from a business perspective. When, you know, if your health is failing, bring somebody in that can help shed a light on that. If your love is failing, if you're wherever you feel deficient, reach out to those people that can shine a light. One, hold up a mirror and help you see the true you through that. And I love, you know, there's work that you do out there that says, I am not that story. I'm not that trauma. I'm not that. I mean, we're wired to survive as children with whatever we chose to come into that, you know, into this world. And I love, you know, Wayne Dyer always says, we are not of our parents. We chose them for the path we needed to create and step into our gift, right? And so if you think that this idea of reparenting, I know I had several amazing male role models in my life that were incredible mentors and father-like figures to me, who had sort of adopted me and gave me that opportunity to feel love, whether it was a big brother type person or a father type person. Show me that all men didn't have to be my father, and to be able to open up access to that. I love this space that you talk about, the diamond self, and you talk about it starts with this place. Talk more about what that really means. What does the diamond stand for? What does that look like? And how do people start that journey in that space?
Yeah. Well, first of all, when it comes to your identity, there is no fixed neural net that represents your identity. Your I, me, mine. There's no fixed neural net. If you looked at that part of the brain that represents the identity, what you would see is a constantly changing light show. If it was like a light show, the neurons lighting up and changing all the time. The beauty of that is you can deliberately get in there and you can create the neural nets you prefer. You can create the identity you prefer, right? And you build this on your own unique gifts and skills, and also who you would prefer to be. You get to decide.
The power of choice.
So, you know, and think of it like a diamond. You know, you have many facets, and diamonds are, of course, created under great pressure. So
right.
we have,
and many of us had many levels of pressure throughout.
yes, right? Yes, and crap
Yes.
sitting on us.
Yes, I can attest to that for sure.
So, so you can create, and this is the diamond self-work that I talk about a lot in Love in 90 Days, which is the core, because you cannot have soulmate love unless you have this diamond self. It says, unless you're giving yourself this self-love and able to be your deserving self, your empowered self, your expressive self. And so that is the core of the work that we do. And of course, that results in success across the board, not just with relationships, but writing books or whatever you need to do, succeeding at work, being a leader, that is your calling. And so a big part of the diamond self work is actually giving yourself a name. So you see, you when you were born, your parents named you. And these days, celebrities get to name themselves. We don't name them. We don't name ourselves. But the most conscious act you could do is to actually give yourself a name, right? So, for example, if you're a woman and you want to find your spiritual leadership, amazing grace, beloved goddess of light and wisdom, right? Yeah, like notice how when you begin to name your diamond self, it actually also calls you in a mission in the world, right? When you begin to name yourself. If you're a guy, Captain Jack, right? It's like you name yourself.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yes, you name yourself. You name yourself. Beloved mighty Isis, right? Nice. Right. Like when I look at you, I see the empowered goddess, the passionate, empowered goddess of leadership.
I appreciate that. I like that.
So when you give yourself your name, and of course, at different times in your life, depending on what your focus is, you'll give yourself different diamond self names, which is really fun. You can change it, you can expand it, you can, if you're working on your love relationship, you can say the beloved, chosen, irresistible, one. Right. Or, so you can actually program yourself. You're programming yourself. You're programming your brain. You're programming as you begin to take that on. And there are different ways we work with that so that you can own it, which then it becomes real, becomes powerful. As you do that, absolutely amazing things line up in the world, of course, because first of all, you're telling your prefrontal cortex, which can't tell the difference between outer reality and inner reality who you are. So it's like, oh, I'm the radiant leader of wisdom and passionate success, right? Whatever it is, you are also programming the world, the universe to respond to you. You are programming the universe to come through. When you begin to experience your diamond self and feel the fun of it and the joy of it and the passion of it, that's irresistible to the universe. It's like the universe is.
Well, I was just going to say, because when you talk about programming and it's such a point I think that we gloss over sometimes is that the subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. It only knows what we tell it, and what we tell it from a place of deep intention and belief. And when we own it and feel it and connect emotion to it and belief to it, whatever we say, the universe just rearranges itself to show up and deliver that. And so you show up as a function. I know, because one of the things we talk about with people is when they say it's the I am statement, right? I am just this, because we talk about how the just gets in the way. Well, I'm just a female engineer, or I'm just a new entrepreneur, or you show up representing whatever that belief or that story around I am happens to be. And so if you decide to choose an identity that says I am a divine goddess of leadership and wisdom and create massive success, you show up as a superhero with your shoulders back and your body open and from a place to receive, versus if you say, well, I'm just another coach that's out there doing blah, 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 and you start to bring all that energy inside. I love that you talk about that. I think from seeing a diamond, talking about your diamond self, it's that space of really opening yourself up to access all those delicious things that you can receive and the things that are, you know, for you that you deserve. One of the things I want you to define a little bit, because I heard you say it inside of that space, was the term soul love. I think a lot of people talk about soul partners and talk about this. And one, I would love to know your definition of soul love. And two, is that only a one option space, or can you have multiple soul loves in your life? And there's a big dilemma and argument around that. I mean, I am very clear that my dog is one of my soul. He is a soulmate in my life, and there's no one that's going to dispute that for me. So I'm curious as to your take on that.
Well, let me tell you that, you know, my team of Love Mentor coaches have given tens of thousands of sessions to people all over the world by phone and Skype. So I have a lot of data. And I can tell you that when it comes to a romantic soulmate, right, there's more than one. This is the good news. Most people will say, oh my God, I was in my 20s. I had the one
love of my life, and they're gone, right?
That's right, it's gone. Can I track them on Facebook? And you look them up on Facebook and they're married with 3 kids. So it's, no.
Plus, if you're reinventing that diamond self, I want to know that I could have a soul love for this version of me, the soul love for this version of me. You know,
yeah, well, you can, and there's more than one soul. There's more than one soulmate. There's more than one. That's really important.
Yeah,
and in terms of like, now in terms of like romantic love, the number one thing is you do have to have some chemistry that has to do with actually smell and other factors. That has to have a vibe. It has to have some chemistry, not a tremendous over the, sometimes you have too much chemistry. It's not right in terms of soulmate. At the same time, it's someone who is your best friend. So you feel completely at home with them. You know, you finish each other's sentences. You're, you know, on the same wavelength with your values and your missions in the world. And you are totally at home. So you have 2 minutes in one. You have passion. You have great passion, but you have great connection. And you have this amazing security. So it's this coming together and coming to be at home at the same time. You know, the passion.
Right, because yes, you need both.
Yeah. And so that's, you know, that's soulmate love. But I mean, also the other really important part is that your partner's willing to grow with you. I know that you guys who are listening to Candy and watching Candy, you know the importance of growth. Now, so that's very important that when you pick a partner, that they're into growth also. Very important.
Well, I agree with that 1,000 times, 1,000,000%, which isn't even a real statistical number. That's fine. And it's one of the things that I've been very clear about. I've worked with enough clients over the years that I think, aside from infidelity and abuse, the biggest reason couples split is because one person has a growth mindset and is moving forward, and the other person has a fixed mindset and refuses to change. And when one person starts to do the work for themselves and someone else is not on board with that, there's going to be a gap that starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so, yes, having a need and a drive to continue to feed and nourish your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul, you need somebody. I really believe when we do work on standards of integrity, that's one of the core values that I talk about with people, is the fact that growth mindset needs to be sort of tracking together, or someone's going to get lost in the shuffle. And it becomes a very animosity driven, very contentious space when one person's doing all the work to grow and the other person's like, I'm checked out. Yeah. I couldn't stress that enough. I love that you mentioned that, because I think it's most people don't understand, you know, and this I think goes back to you talking about the diamond self, that when you marry someone at 24 and you start to do work in your late 30s, 40s, 50s to start to actually have that space of self-love, step into your diamond self, know who you are, that version of you at 24 has become outgrown. And if the person you married at 24 is still in their 24-year-old mindset, you're going to have a problem. And more than likely, you're going to choose to exit that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the friendship died.
Right.
The friendship died. When the friendship dies, because you don't connect, you don't understand.
There's nothing to talk about. There's no right.
Yeah. So the friendship dies and that's the end of it, So you want someone who's really interested in growth. And then what happens is something extraordinary, because you keep reinventing yourselves and you come together anew. You keep reinventing, you come together anew.
Which keeps that going, right?
It's so cool. I've been married for decades and I'm more in love with my husband than I've ever been.
That's excellent.
We're always different. We're always different, So it's incredible.
That's excellent. So talk a little bit. Your book is having a 10th anniversary, like rebirth, relaunch. You are putting the 1190 days back out in a big and powerful way. Talk a little bit about what the messaging is inside of that and what people are going to take as they go out and get their copy and engage in this amazing piece of work.
Yeah, well, I feel really blessed and thrilled. I feel so blessed to be able to put this out. The new edition has a whole expanded part about really living your diamond self. I have a chapter that is called One Simple Secret to Irresistible Self-Confidence. And it's a new chapter. I love that one. This book has helped so many people find themselves, find their diamond self, and find a love relationship. And I'm just particularly thrilled about what we were able to add and update the whole thing. And I really feel it as a gift to have this come through me. So it's been so exciting. Oh, and I just got really great news, which is that Amazon's going to stream my TV show.
Oh, wonderful. That's fantastic. Congratulations. That's wonderful.
My companion TV show. But this is all from envisioning. This is envisioning and what I was envisioning. Lately, I've been really seeing that I really want to facilitate love all around the world, almost like streams of connected light.
Nice.
And when you do the envisioning, which is on your mission and is service driven, the most magical things seem to happen. I mean, I am just over the moon with the whole Amazon news, the
Well, when you align with your true self and you put yourself in that capacity and set intentions in the right space, I'm like anything you want.
I'm blown away. No, honestly, I'm just so blown away. I'm like,
that's so fantastic.
I'm in awe. The whole thing, I feel very blessed.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. I mean, how amazing is that? I mean, many congratulations on that kind of success, because that is a message, especially in light of things that are going on today. A message of love is so needed. In fact, I posted, we're taping this on Martin Luther King's, celebration, and talking about how darkness does not, bring the light. You need the light to change. You need love to change the hate. Yes. And when you think about that, we've never needed love in all its capacities more. And so to have a message around how we individually, because I'm a big proponent of helping people become self-full, which is different than selfish. Selfish says, I'm doing this in spite of others with no regards to others. I'm entitled. I think it's about myself. Self-full says, I'm doing this to serve others. And we can't serve that which we haven't filled our own cup with. And that includes love. People that are constantly putting love out there or think they're putting love out there are putting a fragmented, broken piece of it instead of creating that fullness, that light that you're talking about spreading. Getting in that space of self-love, that space of really understanding who their diamond self is, really understanding what their light is to put in the world. When you take that time and you take that care, then you can serve at a much greater level that creates that mission type driven, just passionate work, and enhances your relationships and your connections and your intimacy and all of those things that are so deeply ingrained in us, right? We all, ultimately our biggest need is connection and, love. And so when you're in a space, and so how do people access more of your work? How do they access the book? How do they, get their hands on a way to, dig in and salivate on this?
Okay, yes. Let me just show you guys. This is the book, Love in 90 Days.
Excellent.
And you can get, right now, it comes actually with $1,000 worth of bonus gifts, which is pretty amazing. My colleagues actually all gave gifts that are amazing. So,
that's beautiful.
to celebrate this. And all you guys need to do is go to my website, which is lovein90days.com. That's lovein90days.com. And when you get there, you'll see kind of toward the top where it says $1,000. You click on that, so you can take advantage of your gifts. And then all you need to do is buy the book, and you'll get access to the gifts. And I think you'll like it very much. And you guys who are watching this, by the way, this book was developed with guys in mind as well as women, but the publisher made me slanted toward women, but it works for guys great, I'll tell you.
And I will say, anytime we talk about that self-love space, and it's interesting because I think sometimes that's an even harder walk for some of the men that are listening, because you haven't had that opportunity to really dig in. And it's really powerful when you give yourself that pause. And we talk a lot about the power of pause and being able to really deeply connect to yourself. And so if you're looking to enhance the relationships with your spouse, your children, your coworkers, whoever it might be, how you're showing up, how you're serving, how you get to lead, know that that starts with that self-love and that connection for yourself. And so really encourage you to go out and check out Dr. Diana Kirschner's book. Again, that is lovein90days.com. And we will have all of that information in the show notes below. Cannot stress how powerfully we all need that opportunity to really kind of settle in and reconnect to something that's bigger than ourselves, which is ourselves ultimately, so that we can, put our light and shine that forward for so many others. And so, Dr. Diana, as we're getting close on our time here, just an amazing discussion. I love the work that you're doing, such beautiful, needed work to go out there, and love how you're choosing to show up as a leader in the world. I mean, this is a big mission to create a movement around self-love and soul love, right? And so if there was something that you could leave this amazing audience with, what might that be as we close out today's session?
Well, I would say don't quit before the miracle. Do not quit before the miracle, whether that miracle is going to happen for you at work, in your career, or that miracle is going to happen in your relationship. It's going to happen, even if it seems like it will never happen. And you're certain it will never happen. Don't quit. Don't quit before the miracle, because it's coming.
Love that. Don't quit before the miracle. So that, as always, starts from a place of you saying yes to yourself. Everything that we talk about in terms of leadership being a choice is about your opportunity to say yes to yourself powerfully and to destroy the noise that might be getting in the way, so that you can allow that miracle that is already on its way to you to show up fully, beautifully, passionately, purposefully, and so that you can stand out there and shine your light. With that, I just want to give a heartfelt gratitude and thank you to my amazing guest, Dr. Diana Kirschner. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Kathy. I love you.
Oh, likewise. Likewise. We're soul sisters now. And to the rest of you listening, as always, it is with deep gratitude, and it is truly my honor to have you join us every week on the Powerhouse podcast. If you are not already subscribed, please subscribe so that you don't miss an episode of these amazing conversations. We're here to serve you, and I hope that you can take a couple nuggets away and go create that 1-2 punch for yourself. With that, this is Candy. I love all of you. Mwah. Go out, shine your light, live your life purposely, and know that we are always here cheering you on.